is Mexikawin. Like I said, Mexico is a Nahuatl word in Mexico, but it's also the land of the white heron. So, in this podcast, that's my first one. This is the second one. We're going to go into a little bit more details about um, Native and want to address some issues in indigenous. For all of those you know there's a lot of questions of what being indigenous is. First off, let's say Tony Tony Kowali, which is the greetings. Tony Nonali, which is the greetings. Uts King, which is a good day. Right now, it's we do ceremonies, and there's one called the sunrise ceremonies, which will be the day will appear beginning of the day. Then there's the sunrise ceremony. The reason I'm bringing all these things up is because a lot of people think they know or want to know what being indigenous is all about. Some want to be a pretend natives. That means perception of people that want to be natives but are really not by blood or in their genetics, or they're not. They just want to have that culture and all that stuff. There's a bunch of people out there pretend natives. They call themselves indigenous and all that, but it's surprising me because now people want to be included, and on the backs of my ancestors or ancestors after me, seventh generation, and they want to do it for monetary gain, profit, fame, being famous, to be famous, to be something they're not. There's a lot of things in the news with people trying to be different race, different cultures, and all that, and it's a genocidal mindset. This country is about up in genocidal tendencies, homicidal, slavery, and all that. And people use that to control, to have power over people, to have even power over cultures. I know people are not aware of that, or they think that it's called cultural misappropriation, cultural misguidedness, cultural stupidity, as I call it. And this needs to stop. There's no sense of trying to be something you're not. Either you are or you're not. Don't try to be indigenous. Don't try to be, something you're not. There's a lot of people that are proud to be this and that. And another thing I also want to bring up is this notion of Hispanics. Okay, being indigenous is not. Okay, there's a difference. Indigenous and Hispanics, I don't think people are very aware of it, but Hispanics speak Spanish, and it's a European mindset. Okay, it's a very European that is not indigenous. Okay, anyhow, anyway, that's a different, thing, and people get confused. Hispanic all the time. I get this thing about people always trying to speak to me in Spanish, or as I call it, spinach, because it's not the indigenous language. It's not the language that's here, and I don't like when some people say Hispanic, don't know what they are, spinach, Spanish, or whatever. But this is this land is sacred, it's ancestral homeland, my nation, it's ancestral homeland to 590 nations and 620 nations, and what I call Northern Aslan. This is Aslan. Northern Aslan is Canada, which also means Wigma or TP for I'm here to correct the educational system too, because the educational system it's a backwards mindset. It's a European genocidal. When they came over, the Vikings, the Pilgrims, they instilled this notion of schools, what is been taught, where they hit kids or they do it in a very oppressive manner, abusive manner, and where they go around hitting people with sticks or brooms or on their hands, and trying to cut their hair, trying to take who they are, and that's a sick mindset. It's a very sick and what I call obsession. And this country has an obsession, very obsessed of what goes on with this mind. And it's the reason I'm talking about this, and there's a lot of people that don't know what First Nation or Indigenous is. They think it's just putting that term Native American, which I don't really like. First of all, American is a Italian word. You got to find out the roots of a lot of these things. Educational, why is this America? Well, where did the word America come from? Well, it's an Italian word from Amerigico. And a lot of people need to find out, get educated on what the real, how you raising your kids, does your kids, what do they see? Where did they learn this stuff from? They learn this from school that's not very, this educational system is very biased, it's very racial, and it's very disturbing. And what's going on right now is you can even see right now that the educational system, the schools are closing, even public schools are closing because their enrollment's down, because they're, some HISD, SAISD, LAISD, New York public schools, Chicago, doesn't matter. All of them have that mindset, where they got that from the genocidal when they came over. So all this stuff you won't read. What I'm telling you, there's books I will tell you exactly things. First of all, shout out to all the indigenous people, content creators, revolutionaries, and that keep it down and keep it out there in the public. Whether it's public, YouTube, or anywhere else. But like I said, we're always out there. You might not know the next person you see next to you isn't First Nation. We're everywhere. We're in cities. We're in countries. Matter of fact, Japan is into the Chicano, the native, the lowrider. Japan, China. There's people that First Nation that live in Japan and China, as we speak. So it's worldwide, and that's why when I say Mexikawin Indigenous Nation, that means it's worldwide. We go. It doesn't matter. We're in Aslan. We're around the world. Japan, China, Africa. You know, of course, a lot of people don't know that New Zealand is an indigenous, it's Maori nation. New Zealand, Australia is the Aboriginal in Australia. You know, um, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, he's Samoan. He's from Samoa. His family's from Samoa. Uh, Jason Momoa, he's Hawaiian, from Hawaii. Hawaii was indigenous before there was ever, you know, tourism, like you say. Now everybody wants to wear a hula shirt and dress up, tiki. You know, some of these things, you know, where you get that from for, you know, tiki. This notion of it's kind of sick when people tiki and they just hula and all this. You know, it's a what's going to call stereotyping. It's funny because that's an uneducated mind. If you're laughing about tiki and all this, what I see and you see it in movies and this notion of how, that's another thing that's funny. How this Lone Ranger mindset. Lone Ranger, you know, that he's the hero. He comes and saves everybody. Saviors, all right. You know, European saviors. Everything is a savior. We got to save you from this. We got to save you from that. It's so funny. It's uneducated, mind you. When you start having that mentality, who's actually has an intellect? And you see that it's hilarious. It's funny. It's disturbing. It's get educated, real knowledge, not this phony pretend like, oh, I know this and I know that. There's a lot of people that always think they know First Nation. Matter of fact, there was this person from Mississippi, which is also a Native, Mississippi. You know, means water. Mississippi, from the Mississippians, the Mound Nation. You know, from the Mound Nation. So, out there in Illinois, you know, right there is it's Cahokia. It's the biggest pyramid in the world, and nobody knows it exists, but it's a mountain. It's called Cahokia, and you'll see that in documentary 500 Nations. See that document. You can actually see that on YouTube right now. 500 Nations. There's another one called "We Shall Remain." We shall remain. Get that? It's the documentaries, but we shall remain in 500 nations. Matter of fact, I showed 500 nations in the University of Rice Universities. So 500 Nations is a 7-8 part series, and it talks about the different nations of this land. It gives you the real in depth. It'll give you the genocidal boarding school of what took place and how they use so-called manipulation of education. Manipulation of education. There. I want to throw that word out. Manipulation of education. Manipulation of education shows you can manipulate something like everything is. Everything can be manipulated, whether it's education, whether it's even science, the atomic bomb. Mathematics can be manipulated because those people that say mathematics is a European mindset doesn't know my nation, doesn't know Native nations. First Nation coined the term zero. Okay, we coined it. We had mathematics. We're one of the most smartest indigenous person. For instance, did you know that the 6 Iroquois Nation is the one that came up democracy? Yes, I know people are blown out about that, but 6 Iroquois Nation developed a pattern of democracy, real nation, real democracy. You type in also, matter of fact, you type in this country, and it'll say or America or whatever you want to call it, America, Maricon. You type in false democracy. It will come up, and one of the ones that comes up with a false democracy is this. Well, this exists right now. This so-called country. I can't even call it a country because it doesn't make anything. It gets everything from overseas, Japan, China, technology-wise. They bring it over here. They charge you 50, 60% markup of what things cost, like Nike, like a lot of things, a lot of goods. You look at anything you see, it's made in China. Nothing is made here because this is a country that makes nothing. It goes in wars and they'll bomb you. It'll take your culture, it'll take your language away from you, and they'll say, we'll take the resources. Matter of fact, a good example of that is how many of y'all seen Avatar? Avatar is documented, and James Cameron has repeatedly said he has got that from First Nation, because the Navi people, also Navi language too, came from indigenous perspective. The Navi, which were the blue in Avatar, were fighting against colonization, capitalism, people coming in and taking their mineral resources. Where does that story sound familiar? That story sounds familiar right here. It's not a true story, as we say, historian, whatever. His story wants to transform that story. But Avatar is a good example. Another good example is the Game of Thrones, which you heard, which also Jason Momoa played. Now, the Game of Thrones was Dothraki. Remember that? It's a combination of a Mongol and First Nation. Dothraki. The language also similar, but it also came from that. Where, remember, Dothraki, Jason Momoa character, Draco, they were never defeated. They were never defeated in the Game of Thrones. Never defeated. How ironic, because I see a lot of people saying this ignorant, stupid, uneducated thing about they thought we don't exist. We exist. We exist. We're here. My nation has never been defeated. The Lakota nation has never been defeated. The Seminole nation has never been defeated. Matter of fact, the Lakota nation has won. And you're saying, how's that true? Well, look at the Treaty of Fort Laramie. Look at that treaty. In the Fort Laramie, there's a picture. It's well documented. That picture shows that the government succeeded. They lost. Okay, another ones they lost the Seminole Wars. They have lost on the Seminole Wars. Seminole Wars, you go to that nation, and who is Seminole Nation? Matter of fact, the Seminole Nation owns Hard Rock Cafe. For all those who do not know that. The one that's built in Las Vegas as we speak right now, that has a guitar that's 40 stories tall, that's Wakanda. And Wakanda is for real. Yes, it is real. Wakanda is a real life. Black Panther is also indigenous from Africa, but also in the Black Panther Wakanda, too, it was a Mayan. So it had Mayan in that. And also the song at the end of the credits was a Mayan song. So when I'm speaking pop culture, indigenous. I'm taking you back to 1800s, 1700s, and back to 1000, where the Six Iroquois Nation had democracy, founded it. 1,500 years. We're going back 1,000 AD. We're going back 1,000. But even then, we got uh, greatest cities in the world. The greatest cities in the world, like Teotihuacan or Tenochtitlan, had 350,000, 400,000. They had the greatest, uh, actually, the first skyscrapers, if you want, the first skyscrapers, 20 to 30 stories. And so this is nothing new. It's a coming full circle. Everything is a revolution. I'm a revolutionary. You, as First Nations, could be any indigenous person out there, revolutionaries. Revolutionaries exist. Modern day revolutionaries exist. It always goes back. 1960s, you can look it up. I'm going to spit out a lot of websites. It's aimovement.org. That's AIM's website, Aslan Indigenous Movement. They're the premier, one of the best revolutionaries that speak to First Nations. On that website, they're just as hype as I am about being Indigenous, and they're militant just like me. I use the word militant because people might get scared of that word, but militant is knowing your rights and not standing up and saying, "Oh, this mascot issue's got to stop. This Washington idiots, Washington, out of sight, out of mind, that called us that name. Matter of fact, that lane no longer exists, doesn't it? That was Washington Commanders. And the person that owned the Washington dummies, as I call it, or Washington idiots, he said this. He said he would never change that name. Never. Now he's no longer the owner of the Washington. Now it's another one, Washington Commanders. So things can change. Unfortunately, a lot of the AIM leadership passed away, but there are still a couple of them that exist. They have passed away, but they have been fighting the good fight against racial stupid mascots that, Matter of fact, there's a lot of them exist even now. And Fried Bread SA, calling us Indians and having us that as a mascot still. But there's 1,000 schools right now in universities that have dropped it, because we're not a character. We're not a mascot. We're not somebody to be made fun of. We're not hooligans. We're not all these things that people say they are. We're not lower than anybody. We're proud people, and people that say we're mascots and this is a character to you. And another thing is colorblind. Look, right now, right here, my skin is brown. Okay. This is funny because I'm brown. Okay. I'm brown. And some of these people with these funny things, they're like colorblind, if you ask me. This notion of this stupidity, this going, this headdress, trying to claim you're something and you're not. First of all, you don't even know what the headdress is all about. You're just wearing it. And speaking of that, come Halloween, I guarantee you some idiot, some stupid person got it in their brain to be a First Nation. They're going to go dressed up. Watch. I kid you not. It always happens every year. Some idiot's trying to wear black face, brown face, or any other face Why don't you have your own culture? Why don't you do that? Why don't you quit stealing mine and try to be something? There's a lot of people, believe it or not, they even want to be dressed up as a native and try to be native. And then, or I heard the term, oh, I'm native or I'm indigenous and all this other stuff, but have nowhere to, but do not seek it. Do not know what the culture is. Do not want to understand or want to, first of all, you got to seek knowledge. You can't just wait and just all of a sudden seek knowledge. Just like a lot of people in this country seek drinking, clubbing. As we speak, they're probably drinking, clubbing, doing all that nonsense. You know, drugging. Matter of fact, there's a lot of drugging going on because I see it on the freeways. Yes, we drive on freeways. We exist in cities. I keep telling people that because it's so funny. Because when you keep telling people, yes, we're here, they're like still thinking, but still your people want to keep thinking 1800s, right? But what's so funny is they want to say rodeo, or they want to talk about cowboys, and they're wearing all these big cowboy hats. But but who's backwards? Who's not on modern times? You keep wanting to refer to put yourself in cowboy hats, cowboy boots. But who's not living in modern times? Who's not living in 2026? Why do you want to go back to the 1700s? Rodeo, this notion of rodeo here, rodeo there. It's funny because I'm from Cali, Califas, Aslan. I live in Freiburg, SA, which is San Antonio. And you see all these people, you even see Hispanics wearing these big cowboy hats, and because they don't want to be what they are. People nowadays, they want to fit in with the Europeans or they want to fit in. They were like, oh, why don't I wear this cowboy hat? Why don't I Spanish and all this? And they actually told what they are. They don't even know what they are. This non-educational system, this genocidal system tells you what you believe in, and then you go and stupid enough you follow it. It's like nobody is a true leader or truly understands what it is to know who you are. Don't be anything. Don't try to be black. Don't try to be white. Don't try to be Asian. Don't try to be First Nation. Speaking of that, I am a native hip hop rapper and native R&B, First Nation R&B crooner. I throw it down like that. I drop it like it's hot. I drop the mic and all that. And I'll battle rap anybody. I'll R&B rap, R&B battle. This notion of, oh, blacks can do this, whites can only do this. I was like, this is nonsense. Like this. And matter of fact, there's some people that try to say they're, oh, how am I a rapper or whatever. And a lot of people don't throw, they just automatically assume, oh, black. They can only rap. Or whites can only do this. I'm here to tell you that is nonsense. That is funny. That's hilarious. If you're a true R&B or you true rapper, look up Lightfoot, look up Keith IMC. Keith IMC throwing it down. He battle raps. They all battle. They all represent. In fact, also Lightfoot will tell you straight out. Some of the rappers, they always want to try to cling to First Nation, and he'll tell you straight out that there's a lot of them that don't get try to steal cultural misappropriations. And rapping in R&B has been part of Native culture. Matter of fact, the chants, as KMC always says, the chants, where it's in the military or whether it's R&B or 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 rhyme and poetry, which is what rap is, or R&B, which is the rhythm and blues. Get to know what that whole thing is before people start, wanting to be famous. The whole culture of what that came from. The bandanas, where that came from. If you look at a picture of Geronimo, he was wearing bandanas before bandanas was a thing. we're bling before bling was a thing, because gold, of course, was, matter of fact, the European white supremacy was still the gold and the mineral resources, take it back to Italy and put it in those churches, and to put it in the so every time you see those churches, you see any of those churches anywhere, where did that come from? Where did that resources come from? Where do the resources come from? The churches in this land, on native land, it's what you call land back. There's land back where, just like Mike Jordan always says, it's a song, raise your flag. He says, we'll never be free until we get that land back. That song is so straight out, because whatever anybody says, with these churches and all these things, where do you sit on? You sit on the ancestral homeland of First Nation. You sit on the ancestral homeland of Indigenous. My ancestral homeland, okay, the blood, sweat, and tears are filtered in this land. It is sacred. That's one of the things that's in 500 nations. It's also on We Shall Remain. It's filtered the land. It is us. Now, for those people that say, "Oh, why are you saying about the church and all that stuff?" Because churches, and there's churches, there's schools, and all this. All this stuff came from against Indigenous. Why people don't know what genocide boarding school is. It's also in the movie called Older Than Aslan. Dennis Banks, who is the First Nation, who is the co-founder of AIM, he's in that movie. He's also in that movie in Lost the Mohicans. He said, there's a line in that movie, Older Than Aslan, or people will say Older Than America, but I don't know. I do not like to say that. But anytime I'm referring to Aslan, talking about this country, and I'm talking about this country, Aslan, like I said. Or you'll hear me turn Anahuac. What is that? That means Turtle Island. Turtles, they have a left and right flipper. Anahuac represents the West Coast, East Coast. And our traditional creation story goes, our traditional way of life goes that Anahuac, this land you're standing on right now, Native Soul, the turtle goes into the water, and on the back of his turtle shell is Turtle Island. And this is where the term Anahuac comes from. Especially, for all those who know, in this state, Tejas, there is a town called Anahuac. For all those of you who don't know, it's kind of outside H-Town, Houston, or as I call Hustle Town, H-Town. H-Town, it's outside that. It's like you're going towards SA, Fry Bread SA, but it's somewhere in the middle between SA and Hustle Town and H-Town. So it's a town called Anahuac, and a lot of people don't know what that they'll see. They only also don't know a lot of the states are called um, from indigenous, like Florida or Miami. Where's Miami? Miami from the Miami nations. The originally from Ohio. Miami nations from Ohio, and they also threw it down. They're also one of the ones that were never that fought resistance all the way. So also another word is Chicago. That's also means wild onions. Matter of fact, somebody from Chicago, when I told him what that meant, he said, "Oh yeah, Chicago. There's a lot of onions out there." I was like, "Oh, that's very interesting. Onions that grow, out there because it's the Great Lakes region." Matter of fact, to this day, the Great Lakes region is one of the purest waters. That actually one of the few places that you can drink from the stream. Very few places that you can drink. That's there. Some it's in the Arctic, where you can actually this is a thing where Ludacris actually went to different areas to get pure water from a lake. You can see that on YouTube. So all those that said about pure water, how is that possible? Remember, there was natural drinking water that you can drink from. Now there's very few now, very few that's not contaminated or all this oil and all this nastiness that they go and put it through the drain. Can you believe that? Even close to here, they're even trying to do that in Fried Bread Estate. Corporations actually want to dump in the aquifers. Can you believe that? I mean, this is an educational system, that knowledge system that is just ridiculous with big corporations, oil companies, Dapple, matter of fact, what that is, you know, uh, uh, Pine Ridge, Standing Rock, what they were fighting for was to get oil or all these stuff away from your drinking water. But check this out: the people in the cities and the towns, they didn't want that going through there, so they put it to Standing Rock. So then they wondered why the country wondered why the First Nation is all set, because you want to bypass your cities and not have your water contaminated, but you want First Nation to take the hit. That is a sturdy, but it doesn't matter because they get dirty water from Michigan, all that incident that happened in there from Michigan. Remember that in the news where the state or the cities, they didn't want to pay for good drinking water, so they bypassed it and gave them dirty water. Even to this day, Michigan, to this day, those people are still, though that drinking water has not been solved. Matter of fact, I also know that this is a drinking water problem was in 2012 in Washington D.C. There's a lot of drinking problems, issues here. I'm talking about actual drinking water. Yes, from the tap. Actually, the problems with drinking contaminated drinking water. One of the movies that is a true story, and everybody should look at this. It's called Civil Action, and that is it's a true story, mind you. This every time I watch it, check that out. You can also view the trailer, Civil Action, and that's a true story. There's another one called Dark Water. It's also about drinking water. You know, uh, that, it's also about contaminating drinking water and what that does to your skin and what that does to your body. Drinking water, dirty water, even schools in cities, different cities have bad contaminated fountain water, fountain drinking water. And it's like, what the heck is going on? What is going on? Drinking water, contaminated water, but they are the ones that are saying that we don't know what we're talking about, First Nation. But 1700, they want to live 1300, where it's bad contaminated water. So look those movies up. Look those movies up. So right now, as we're seeing right now, that's coming up, is the sunrise. The sunrise ceremony, and then you got the sundown ceremony. Now the sunrise ceremony, it lets you know the good day that's coming. That you enjoy the good days of this of the new, and it's good to be indigenous, as I say. Smoke signals. So out to the movie Smoke Signals. One of the lines in there is, "It's good to be indigenous." And as you see the sun rising, wherever you're at, will depend on what time zone you're at. Some are coming, some will be, or some already happened. And since this is, like I said, Mexikawin Indian Nation, I'll give you a little knowledge. Japan and New Zealand are already a day ahead. They're already in the next day. They're on Monday, actually. We're on Sunday right now, but they're on Monday. So New Zealand are one of the first countries, and Japan are one of the first countries that start the next day as a Monday. We're on Sunday, and it's Monday. So always fascinating in New Year's. I call it Aztec New Year's, when all the countries do celebrations around the world. Well, the first one is New Zealand, and then it's Japan, and then it goes to the Arab countries. Shout out to all my Arabs and Palestinians that fight. We stand with you. We stand on the back of you, of shoulder to shoulder. Standing Reich, Oka, what's going on in the Palestinian breaks my heart all the time. And for those that do not know, there is connection with First Nation and Palestinians, because in Standing Rock they have the Palestinian flag. And Dennis Banks also talks about the Palestinian issues all the time. And I will speak out for the Palestinians, the Arabs, because the Arabs, every time, one of my best friends, shout out to Nassim, if he's there, if he sees this, he's from Palestine, and he's given me the Palestinian shawl. I'll show it to y'all. And, he's in Palestine as we speak. And he has come over here in New York, and he actually lived here in H-Town where I met him. And we just talked about how the Palestinians and First Nations are really alike. And there also is a First Nation rapper that went to Palestine. Matter of fact, Frank Wall, shout out to him, native hip hopper. Look him up, because he also has a channel and a music video. Frank Wall, First Nation. So he's gone to Palestine, and it's and he talks all about this in his music. And but I'll say more about Palestine as we'll go on. I'm on a different podcast, so I'll always mention. But I just wanted to get more other things, so I have to review our, because I'm going a lot of different topics I have to do in between here and there. And one of the main things I wanted to get to is as the sunrise ceremony comes up in the morning and the sundown ceremony. So a lot of people don't understand because first of all, you're not indigenous and you won't know the full meaning behind a lot of the stuff. The reason I'm putting it out there is because, like I said, I'm out of my first original podcast that you can see. Mind you, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Get me to that goal of mobile live streaming. So subscribe and like to give me the goal of mobile live streaming. And like I said, give me that goal. I can mobile live stream, and then I can also live stream on Facebook. But remember, Facebook only allows it for 30 days. So if I do it for maybe 15 to 30 minutes, be sure to get it, and also we'll drop it here. Once I able to mobile live stream, or doing all kinds of things so the word to get the word out. But so there could be several places, and then also the podcast will always be ongoing, and also my original music, native music and native R&B will be dropping. Will be coming soon. Also, the new logo for Mexikawin. And I've had logos, different native logos before. I've had the logo of a pyramid and of a logo of the word smoke, the incense holder. So this is another step. Mexica world Indian always evolves, just a circle. Always evolves in different logos and different things to catch people's eyes to say, oh, and it's a very good one. I think y'all will be very excited what that logo will look like. Of course, it's going to have always indigenous in there, First Nation, but it will be a very catchy and not, very enterprising logo of what Mexica World Indian Nation represents. So, and right now, like I said, the sunrise ceremony comes in the sun. And then we also have a sundown ceremony. And when you do that, you always will have a smudging. You'll, like I said, sage or cedar or willow, or different things we use to bless. Like I said, you always, like I said, with a feather or with another feather, you'll always have a meaning with Native spirituality, Native culture. That's who we are. It's because if you don't have that, just like Lightfoot said in his book, also get that book, Medicine of Prayer. Get that book. It's Lightfoot. Get that book because, like I said, always have a meaning behind everything you do. And you can do dancing, native dancing, native hip hop, but unless you're founded in who you are, the native spirituality, the native ceremony, then all that's for nothing. Because you gotta get grounded. It's gotta be more than just being famous to be famous. You gotta stand for something. I see these people all the time, all these content creators are so-called want to be famous out there, clickbait and all that. But what do they stand for? And I always tell people what I represent. Every time I go on a coaster, every time I do, yes, we do. First Nation does, Mexikawin does roller coasters. Anytime at a theme park, anytime I do hip hop, anytime I do rap or music, any instrument, um, or filmmaking. Also, I made a documentary. It's about an five hour and 510 minutes. What Mexico is also more in depth of what Mexico Win is all about. So check that out. It's called We Shall Rise Again. So check that out. So these are different things that I'm doing, and so we always, you know, always dropping in pop culture, always. So with that being said, like I said, you get an incense, and like I said, this is a native incense holder, feather, and we smudge. When you smudge your smudging, your blessing, you bless your home, the four directions. You also anything that you care about or you hold true, safe journeys for whether any kind of transportation, whether it be a car or anything you do. You always bless what we call the war horse. Your war horse, or like Keith Sokola, who's also a First Nation, says, your First Nation car. You always name your car, or where you are. You can take care of it. You smudge it to blessing, blessed journeys wherever you travel. Whether it's a car, you bless yourself, the four directions. Um, you bless your home, and you're blessing the food too. And uh, and so when you do that, you bless it with the sage. Now this is the sage bundle. This is a long sage bundle right here. There's a long sage bundle, and then you got the baby ones, the mini ones, mini sage. So you got the little mini sage, and you got the big sage. Now the sage, put it in here in your incense holder. It could. There's one. I used to have one that's this one, and then there's a shell. There's also the shell. Go. And you put the sage in this bowl, and you create an incense, smoke. Smoke signals. You're smudging yourself. Also, what people don't know what a smoke signal is. You might see it in movies and all that. A smoke signal it shows multi-purpose. Smoke signals is fire is sacred to us. For cooking, also for ceremonies, also for a signal for other nations, something's happened or something's coming, or for ceremonial purposes, smoke signal around circles. So it's got a multi-purpose behind that. Always everything I do will always come with the language and spelling of it. Right now, like for instance, like I said, when a movement, everything is circle. Well, the word for that is Olin, Nahuatl. Olin, Ollin, Olin. It means movement. Then there's one called Shu, with the X. Shu, XI, means fire. XI means fire. So when you put it to the Shu Olin, means fire movement, or Shu Kano means fire of the people. Yes, there's Chicano, but then there's the word Chicano you could say it's CHI, or then you go and go to Aztec native way and XICAONO. So XI, you know, and then Nahuatl is NAUHTL, Nahuatl, or Quiche, which is Mayan, QUICHE, Quiche. It's the language. So you got Nahuatl, you got Quiche, and I'll write it and time to time, and I'll show you. I'll keep referring to Chicano, Olin, Mexica. These are the phrases you can get a top to, or Quiche, Mayan, because I'm also Aztec and Mayan. That is my nation um, here. And what people don't know is the Aztecs came originally from Colorado, and from Colorado to Mexico, and then Mexico back. So we're part of the UT Nation. What compromises the UT Nation is the Nene, or Navajo, the Nene, the Yaqui, which is also from both on both sides, Mexico and here, or Aslan, the Tomorrow Nation, the Zuni Nation, the Hichal Nation. They're both sides. So Kickapoo is also on both sides too. That's what here in Eagle Pass, not too far away from San Anto, SA, Fried Bread SA, San Antonio. So it's the Kickapoo Nation. So you got the Kickapoo Nation, you got the Alabama Coshada, which is close to H-Town, Houston, and then and then you got the Kiowa in El Paso. So, and then I'll be always talking about that. There's also a programming called People of Earth that comes on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. So, so that's the smudging. And right now, just like I said, I mentioned about nation with pyramids. Right here, Teotihuacan. This right now, you can go to it right now. It exists. It's the pyramid of the sun, right now. So then there's the Aztec calendar. So right here, it's got the Teotihuacan, and this is how you spell it. And it's got the calendar, and I'll show it to you more. But right now I just want to, and then it has the Eagle Warrior. And then of course, you can't forget the genocide conquistadors, because I want to make very clearly that these people were foreigners. They were the true illegals. They were the true illegals. They're European. Look at that mustache, and look at the way their clothes are. So this notion that they came from Europe. Okay, let's get that fact straight. That's a European. The helmet. Okay. Let's get educated, people. Let's not keep dwelling and keep saying, we didn't exist, and keep saying that Europe found this country. Europe did not. Okay, it already existed here, will exist There was a language here, and like I said, we refer to it as Anahuac, Turtle Island. We refer to it as the ancestral homeland. We refer to this as Aslan. It will always be Aslan. We don't refer to it as America or Mexicano or any other New Spain, New Mexico, New World, New Spain. None of this thing. Here's the Aztec calendar. Right here represents the sun. And this calendar always represents the calendar. This is the most. This right here is one of the most accurate calendars to date. I will be showing you more and go a little bit in details more about it. I want to get started. Introductory. What I'm teaching right now is a little bit of introductory. What it's called First Nation Studies, but we're going a little way more in depth. It's First Nation Studies and Chicano Studies. I'm doing a little bit of total immersion with the language. So I've guest lectured at the U of H in the Chicano Studies program. Also showed 500 Nations again, the University of Rice. Matter of fact, they have a Native Student Association in Rice University. So also UTSA right now, which is University of Tejas in San Antonio, has his master's degree in Chicano Studies. So Chicano Studies, well, they'll cover a little bit what I'm talking about, but I'm going more of in depth from a really native Quali, Capoli is a nation. It's an Aztec nation. We're going more depth with Capoli, First Nation, exactly more in detail from my First Nation perspective. But some of the stuff will be in First Nation studies and Chicano studies. But then I go a little bit more in depth. And I want to make it accessible because, like I said, tuitions at those universities are expensive. And like I said, they're like the 1% again. But what I am talking about and telling you, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm getting it out there more open instead of it's a 0.5% or 1%. So what I'm telling you or showing you is more in detail. And believe me, those universities charge an arm and leg. So, but I wanted to be more open, and I hope people realize what they're getting for this value. Like I said, like and subscribe. And a lot of what I'm saying is people charge an arm and leg for knowing a lot of this stuff. They charge a lot. On some things that I'm showing you or telling you right now, you will not know because you got to be invited as a First Nation to some of these ceremonies. You can't just show up. You can't just, all of a sudden just thinking that it's like everything else. Because you got to know. And then some people are not even taught like some of the basic stuff I'm showing you right now, the smudging things I'm showing you, because like I said, it's a very exclusive thing. Even some First Nation people have trouble with the language or ceremonies, or they don't get it that often. But I was fortunate to have my mentor, my medicine man, that has taught me a lot. And reason I'm telling y'all that's, showing me different things. His name is Daniel, and two, he was a Crow Nation. His First Nation name was Mammoth Sea, and that's his indigenous name. My indigenous name is Tiawashli Sabatsonshin. I'll also write it for you and show you what that looks like. But Tiawashli is turquoise and Nahuatl language. Sabatsonshin, and I'll do it. I'll slow it down. Tiawashli Sabatsonshin. Then I'll do it fast. Tiawashli Sabatsonshin. So what that is a Aztec and Mayan together, because that is who I am. Like I said, Tiawashling is a turquoise. It's a mineral we use in ceremony. Turquoise is a healing stone. Sabatsonshin is means fast serpent. So it's a healing and a fast serpent, meaning quick action. Quick with revolutionary, quick with results. I find solutions, not problems. So I'm done. Now we're going to go to the little theme park. Like I said, I do roller coasters. So this represents the loop of a coaster. So we call it an inversion, where it's upside down, inversion. This represents an inversion, a loop. Some will just have just the track itself, This represents like a train, coaster train, or ride vehicle. And on that ride vehicle, they have wheels, right? On the track. And then they have like guide wheels. Right here is like kind of like represents a guide wheel. So these are the wheels on the track, and these are the guide wheels connected to the track. So right now, this is like I said, a track. Now, if it's an inverted coaster, inverted is where it's a top like that, where your feet dangles, and the track is above you, like that. Track is above you. So your track is like that. It's an inverted coaster. Then it's what called, you could have a steel coaster, it's like a solid steel, or you can have a wood coaster where it's just wood, or call it woody. Now, inversions is what we call is a loop. So it's like the coaster goes through a loop. So I just wanted to show you that little perspective with roller coaster. Remember, it's the loop of a coaster. This symbolizes a loop of a coaster. You know how a coaster has loops. It's also a circle, significant. All circle. So I'm interchanging things. Talking about culture, I forgot about buffalo, mighty buffalo symbolizes Buffalo Nation of the Lakota Nation. Each nation has an animal. My nation, eagle, eagle nation. Also, my nation is also jaguar nation, panther. Like I said, each nation has an animal. It's sacred to us. So, like with the Buffalo Nation, you know, it's strong. It can go 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. It's roughly 1,500 pounds, sacred. Um, um, it's also, good resources for food. Now, the food that you're getting, and a lot of times, it's bad. It's bad food. There's a lot of bad food out there. You know, Buffalo Nation is, one with the buffalo. You know, it's for our substance, food, turkey. I don't know if y'all don't know about turkey. Turkey is Aztec food. So these foods, like I said, represents the four directions. The four directions meaning um, also can also mean land animal, water animal, winged animal, and water, fire, and the elements of fire. So you got your flying, which is the wing. You got your land. You got your water, sea. You know, you got your mountains. So it all represents different directions. Directions, also elements, land, water, fire, Mother Earth, all representing here. And it's special. And then we'll also go to we'll dip into paleontology, which is dinosaurs. And then I should show you this saber tooth, saber-tooth tiger. 15,000, 20,000. There's also a book, like I said, all the books you can go and Google. You can get a sample, couple pages. So it's always free for just if you want a sample page of what the book is. But it's called Fossil in the First Nation, or First American. But like I said, I do not like to say American that often. So it's the Fossil of the First Nation. And it's a very good book. It ties into paleo dinosaurs and also the Ice Age, 15, 20,000, to First Nation. And like I said, and we dived into a lot of things with that. I'm not just hip hop. I'm not just R&B, roller coasters, cultural. We go into depths of also museum, native museum. And native museum is a little different than museum what we get, because we have a lot of stuff is stolen from indigenous cultures and indigenous nations. And if you don't know more about the museums, how you take it back. You take culture, you take your thing back from society or things from our culture. So that's why when you see artifacts, the pictures that I show, I'm using it as a tool to take what is my ancestors back to and flipping it because, um, like I said, there's more to just showing and displaying it. There's a meaning. When you do any artifact, you're always blessing it. You're, just like what I did, you bless it. You bless it. Every artifact, native artifact, you show it respect. You bless it. There's also a way of we'll do native architecture. And I'll tell you more about that, what that encompasses, because we're also going depth with architecture too, buildings, anything that's indigenous related, which is a lot. It covers a lot of different indigenous related thing aspects. So I just wanted to get you start overall from the this part and the last one, just to get an introduction. What what are we going to be showing? What am I going to be talking about? Different things, different certain ceremonies, different things that people can see, or and all times, like I said, if you see me in the park, you see me around different places, Fried Bread SA or in different cities. You can always talk to me. I'm always open. I'm always intriguing what people, another thing that somebody said was like, oh, about these mascots. And somebody that I talked to used to say, oh, they took a poll. They said, oh, I was like, what poll is this? Now, this could, everybody always says about a poll about indigenous person and what they accept and what they don't accept. First of all, that is stupid. That is like for basically non-natives that are polling. And pollings never work in the first place because they get it wrong a lot on these stupid elections all the time. So I'll go into these stupid polls, but I told them right back, I said, I was never polled. Where are they getting these pollings from? So you always hear a humorous side of this equation with First Nation because it's just funny how people say poll. And I ask people how many have they ever talked to an indigenous person? Have they seen an indigenous? No. The answer is always no. They also, I played this can you guess what I am kind of game. And a lot of people get it wrong all the time. Some people think I'm Hispanic, some people think I'm Arab, a lot of people have not, there's only a very few, mind you, very few portion of people that have got it correctly. And actually know where I'm from, and my origins in Mexico, in Coahuila, Torreon. One person so far has pinpoint exactly where my roots are, Coahuila, Torreon. And even though, matter of fact, I'm from Los Angeles, mind you, but my family, my heritage is linear from LA to Coahuila. So from here, but from also two places too. So from Coahuila, it's a lot of these people, if you never noticed, they have my hair. And only one person has exactly pinpointed, exactly know, because it's like, wow, you do spinning. I was like, yeah, that's my nation. I'm proud of it. So it's very few, but so it's always funny when I go through life hearing about different takes on things. But like I said, we're here. I'm here, and I just want to show people that there's more coming. Like I said, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Never say that much, but from this part, and like I said, don't, and Mexico World Indian Nation, it's always um, total immersion, where we include First Nation in our culture and everything we do. You know, cultures, everything we do. But we'll get more into different aspects. We'll get also, like I said, I'll show you mic again. The mic, the mic right here is kind of like a speaker. So you don't actually. I kind of like these because you don't actually need uh, a sound speaker, or it comes from here, and you can just. This is its own speaker on the mic, and also it has the mic also has another speaker. So it has this one and then this one. The other mic has just a speaker itself, so you don't always need to always carry those big stage speakers. You see sound system speakers, 20 or 30-inch woofers, or you can also have what you call a mini speaker too. You don't always have to have those speakers. I mean, it's good for like concerts, the woofers and big tall speakers, but for concerts and for more people. But so you can always have something like this to start out with, with a speaker, and this one does exactly different types of things, but I'll show you all. But like I said, um, uh, we'll always do total immersions with everything I do. I just want to show a little introduction of the live podcast, this part, and my last one I did on my birthday. So get you something to see. You can rewind, you can go back, and will be more to come with the live podcast as we'll go through. And remember, Facebook, Giorgio, Mexikawin, other Facebook slash Mexikawin, YouTube slash Mexikawin. Also, I have a MySpace, and yes, MySpace, but it goes back to when I first started social media. So they used to have it where you can put games and all kinds of stuff. I don't really like how it is now, but it used to be a lot more different things that you could do with MySpace. But I still use it too, MySpace slash Mexikawin. So you can also get me on Instagram. Instagram for Mexikawin, for representing the four directions, for Mexikawin. So that with this podcast, and it's called Four Directions and Four Winds. Four directions and four winds, or just four directions, but four winds because of the four directions the elements we use. And I'll go more in depth about that. But this podcast is to give you a guide, go back, rewind, listen to it, see it, watch it. What my hair represents is Chief Joseph. He has his two hairs or braids and one in the back. back. So this is a significance of my heritage. Chief Joseph was one of the greatest warriors, chiefs that ever world. He took women and children 15 to 2,000 miles against government, protected them, fought to have their survival. And he is one of the greatest chiefs and greatest. And to him, I look up to, and this is what I represent. So that just lets you know the intent of what Mexikawin Indian Nation, Chief Joseph, remember. And I'll be talking about other chiefs and other First Nation revolutionaries like Russell Means, Dennis Banks, Clyde Belcourt, Chicano revolutionaries like Corky Gonzalez, Jose Indigo Gutierrez, King Tiger, Reyes Tinina, Chicano movement, Native Power movement, were all being death and coasters, roller coaster theme parks. We're thinking about the coasters now. More to come. There's going to be a new theme park in Austin called Codaland. And so we're going to have Codaland coming in September. I believe it's September 26th. It's a Saturday and for the grand opening. And then that's a special ticket for the grand opening. And then other one is normal. So you got Codaland in Austin. You have Fiesta Tejas here in Fried Bread SA. You got SeaWorld here. You got Morgan's Wonderland. I'll be going to depth what that is. And Incredible Pizza, which is also has a coaster, an indoor figure 8 coaster, and games, and they also have like a carnival rides, flat rides, and go-karts in there. So I'll be talking more about that. And remember, I came from LA, so my home park was Magic Mountain, Knott's Berry, Universal Hollywood, Disneyland. My main one I used to go a lot was Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry and Universal. But that was my original home park. Now my home parks are, like I said, the San Antonio, Fried Bread SA, and then Codaland. So we'll go in depth about that. But I say, quit us up until next time. She go win.